So whenever we start a Vue instance, we get, the data, the methods, the watchers, computers, and everything else. So we can manipulate whatever we have inside of that instance, all right? Now remember that when we start a Vue instance, we pass a selector. So we can decide where all of this is going to happen. In this case, it's going to be ID app, all right? So in theory, if we create another selector and a new instance, on the same file, we should be able to run both. So let's give it a try. So I'm gonna go to the div with a app, nothing, just app, and I'm gonna create a div that says instance 1, all right? And then I'm gonna give it a value so we can get something from the data, something real simple. And then I'm gonna copy this one because I'm lazy and paste this one at the bottom. And this one is gonna be app number 2. Now, instead of this one, it's going to be number 2. And, they have the same name, all right? Same name, same value. And I'm going to go right here at the bottom, and I'm going to create a new one. But first, I'm going to do this one so I can, copy and paste. So I'm going to do comma, and I'm going to add a data, open and close, and I'm going to add that value. So value equals to, I don't know, instance 1 working, something like that. All right. So I'm going to copy this one, I'm going to go at the bottom and paste it. But this one, of course, is going to be app 2, and this one is going to be the number 2. All right. So I'm going to save it and see what happens. So, all right, we get instance 1 working, and instance 2 is working. So we are able to run different instances of the, same view on the same HTML, right? So you could create a widget, for example. Let's say that you have a project, a web page, where you have HTML and jQuery and everything else, and you can mix both. You can have a same page using jQuery for everything else, but maybe you want a widget and you can create it with just Vue, and everything is going to work just like a charm, because the selector is the actual environment. Vue works inside of this selector and not outside of this selector. All right. Okay, so this is why I'm teaching the basics without using Node.js, because maybe you don't care about Node.js. You don't use it. Maybe you just go old school and create an HTML with the CSS and everything else, and you don't need it. So this is a good way to do it. Of course, then we're gonna go much later. We're gonna use it with Node and the CLI, so we can use it like most of the people use it today. All right. So, all right, what happens if we need to relate both instances and maybe share some information? Maybe access a method from the first app to the second app. Maybe just modify a value. So, of course, we can do it. It's really, really simple, much simpler than you would think. This is still JavaScript. We are using Vue, but everything is still JavaScript. So instead of storing the Vue instance on the window, because this is what we are doing, we are saying new Vue and we store everything on the window, the global. So instead of doing that, what we can do, we can store everything on a variable and then make a reference to that variable. I know, maybe makes no sense. I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to be adding an action, maybe a button on the first instance right here on the first app. And whenever I click it, I want to change the value of the second instance. So I'm going to be accessing this from this. I'm going to access this from this. All right. So I'm going to add a button. So button. And then I'm going to do, the shorthand. Click. And I'm going to create a method called change and then value. All right. And then I'm going to say maybe just change. And I'm going to add a ruler so we can split this. So of course we don't have this method. I'm going to be adding right now. So I'm going to go comma. I'm going to add methods, open and close, and we're going to say change value. Now before I can do this, we need to store the instance on a variable. So since we are using ES6, I'm going to say const, and then this one is going to be app1. It could be just maybe app and not app1, but I'm just going to say app1. All right. So and the other one is going to be the app2. So I'm going to store this one inside of a different variable, app number 2. All right, so now whenever I click this, I want to access this value, and maybe change it to something else, I don't know. So I'm going to go into the methods and I'm going to say, okay, I want to access the app number 2. I want to access the value that we have inside of the data, right? And then say this one, it is equal to the value changed. Something like that. You know, really simple. I'm going to save it. I'm going to reload the application. And if I click it, we are accessing the value of the number 2 and changing it from the first instance. You know, it's really simple, you know, not that complicated. And you know, it works. Now, of course, you can access whatever function, variable, maybe an object. Then again, this is still JavaScript. So if we had a variable maybe outside of the instances, again, we can access it because everything is JavaScript. So I'm going to say let, and I'm going to create a message, you know, just a variable that stores a message saying, hey guys, right? Something simpler. So I'm going to go to the instance number 2 and I'm going to create pretty much the same button. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste. And this one is going to be the method say something. Right. So I'm going to go to the instance number 2 and I'm going to create methods, open and close, and I'm going to create that say something. So now this one, whenever we click on this one, we will be accessing this method, and I want to alert whatever I have on this variable that it's not related to this instances, right? So okay, I'm gonna say alert, open and close, and we do message. All right, so I'm gonna reload the application, and if I click it, we get hey guys. So you can access maybe a function, maybe an object, whatever you have outside of the instances. If it's on the same script, of course, you can access. Again, everything is JavaScript. Of course, we can kind of do it backwards. We can access from here, maybe something outside, to some values, maybe right here. So for example, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go at the bottom because again, JavaScript starts, the browser starts reading the script from top to bottom. So I'm going to go at the bottom and I'm going to do a simple set timeout, open and close. And whenever we hit the set timeout, it's going to run after 3 seconds. And I want to access the app number 1 and change the value. So this one is going to be, I don't know, changed. Something we can recognize. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna reload the application. 1, 2, 3, and we change the value on the first instances. So you can do pretty much the same thing we did right here, but backwards. Access from here inside of, you know, the actual instance, the value of the instances. So there are a few things that you cannot do or you should not do. For example, what happens if on the set timeout, I want to add a new value to data, right? Let me just give you the example. I'm gonna go right here, and whenever we start the set timeout, I'm gonna say that the app number 1 now has a name of Francis, of course. And then I'm gonna do the console log of app number 1 and of course the name. So we should be getting Francis, right? All right, so the application starts. And after 3 seconds, we get Francis. All right, so that is good. You know, it kind of works. Now, the thing is that you cannot access this through methods because when the application starts, all the methods are declared. So if you make a reference to this one, which you're adding after 3 seconds, you're not going to be able to access it, right? You maybe need to do something else. So let me just show you. I'm going to go to the methods of the app number 1, all right? But first I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here and I'm going to add a function, a method, which is going to be access value. Could be access name, you know? I'm going to create this access value, open and close. And this access value is going to be another set timeout, but this one, it's not going to run after 3 seconds. It's going to run after 5 because, you know, after 3, we add the app name of Francis. All right, so I'm going to go to the set timeout, and what I want to do, I just want to console log the this.name. Remember that we don't have it when the application starts. We are adding this after 3 seconds. So I'm going to save it, going to reload it, and first we're going to get Francis, and 2 seconds later, we're going to get Francis again. All right, so it kind of works. right? So it works. You can do this and you can force it. But again, there's no, it makes no sense for you to do this. Why not just adding the set timeout inside of the instance? All right. Again, you can do this, but what happens if something fails or there's something, maybe a problem with with time right here, and you're trying to access this before it gets created? I'm gonna say it 2 seconds. We get, of course, undefined because it doesn't exist. So again, try not to do this, right? Try not to add this kind of things from outside of the instance. It's just a warning. You can do it, you can force it, but why not just working inside of the instance? Now, there's one more thing I want to add before we go to the next thing. One thing you can do, or you might do, maybe you have some properties coming from a server, maybe an object with some data. What you can do, instead of passing the object right here, since this is just a JavaScript object, you can just pass the variable. For example, I'm going to say const data, and this one, it's equal to whatever value we have right here. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste. So now instead of just saying this, I can delete this and I can just make a reference to data, and of course a comma, and this will work, right? We are just storing the data inside of a variable, right? Again, everything is JavaScript. Okay, so let's go to the next one. On the next one, we are gonna discuss refs.